Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tristar Gym channel. Today, I'm doing this episode from New York City. I usually don't do videos on the road, so please forgive me if this is a little bit off key. But I have to keep up the content coming. I am way behind on the content. We need to talk about Donald Cerrone versus Tony Ferguson. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to get into the chat room, and I'll start giving you guys my thoughts. I just watched the fight again. It was an incredible, incredible fight. Really an incredible fight. Number one thing I like most about this fight is how they brought Tony Ferguson and Cowboy Cerrone into the center of the octagon to face off before the fight. Normally that's reserved for only main events and for title fights, but it just shows how important this key fight was. Both fighters are obviously fight favorites. Both of them actually always put on a great show. Two phenomenal fighters and really amazing fight. Did not disappoint. I have it right here on my laptop actually. I was just watching it, and round number one, I had it very close. I had Ferguson leading, then Cowboy coming back. It was super close, but at the end, especially after watching it two times, I felt like Ferguson won round number one. And of course, at round number two, it was really a Tony Ferguson round. He really got busy, really scored some very nice strikes, and very dominant. Now, in my opinion, the real reason why Ferguson won, the biggest key, was his pressure and his elbows. He landed some elbows that you could see visibly hurt and injured Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy took Ferguson's punches very well. However, those elbows were just too much. Ferguson threw so many significant strikes. Really, he threw elbows, knees, kicks. He threw everything, absolutely everything. However, those elbows, in my opinion, were just a little bit too much for probably anybody in the lightweight division to take. So, guys, with that said, that's my thoughts on the fight. I want to hear your comments and questions on the fight. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to give you guys some more of my ideas on the fight as that comes along. But really, ultimately, these are two fan favorite fighters. Ferguson has never had a boring fight. Donald Cerrone has never had a boring fight. And these two guys will absolutely fight anybody. On top of that, Ferguson has never lost a title. He was champion, and then they had to strip him of the title. The man never lost a title. So, in many ways, this was a title fight. This was very similar to a title fight. Cowboy Cerrone has proven himself many times to be worthy of a title fight. He's fought for the title in the past. And Ferguson has never lost a title. So, in a way, you could also consider this as a Tony Ferguson title defense. It could have been because Cowboy Cerrone was on a win streak, doing really well. Supreme performance over Quinta. We could say he was even more dominant in many ways than Khabib over Quinta. A phenomenal performance there that shows that he's a top contender. I think I got a super chat here. I'm going to be checking it out real quick here, see what that's about. I'm clicking on it. Nothing's coming up. Did you think the fight was exciting as expected? That's from Justin. Yes, Justin, I really thought the fight was going to look like this nonstop action. Unbelievable striking from both men. I'm surprised there was no grappling. They're both really good grapplers. I really wanted to see some grappling. In round two, Tony Ferguson threw a beautiful spin elbow that just missed, and Cowboy took him to the ground, and I was really excited to see them roll on the ground. I love the jiu-jitsu. I love the jiu-jitsu as much as I love the stand-up and the wrestling, and unfortunately, there was not much grappling. Ferguson was able to get to his feet, break hands, get up, strip the grips, and get back to his feet. Um, Thank you, funniest username ever. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm covering Ferguson versus Cowboy Cerrone. I'm in New York, guys. For those of you wondering why I'm not in my regular spot, I'm in New York City for the fights, for the Bellator Fights 222, and I have to keep the content up. I have to keep the content rolling. Normally, I don't shoot when I'm on the road, but I am on the road. Special thank you to Gym Kings. Guys, check out Gym Kings. Incredible brand, treating the fighters, coaches correctly. They're treating us right and building a phenomenal brand with unbelievable clothing. Timtam.tech, of course, TristarDorms.com, tsdorms@gmail.com. And thank you all for supporting this channel. And of course, shout out to Monster Energy Drink. Very important. Monster Energy Drink. Need to shout them out a little bit more often. All right, guys, I'm covering Cowboy Cerrone versus Tony Ferguson in this episode. Did anybody catch what Tony Ferguson did at the end of round two? At the end of round two, besides, I'm not talking about that late punch. I'm talking about him kneeling over down to the octagon. He kind of kneeled over in the octagon, pretended to grab a handful of sand or dirt or dust, and he kind of like blew it in Cowboy Cerrone's face. It's kind of a weird move that he does. He did it against RDA, and I've seen him in training doing it. I saw him once doing a public training, I believe, where he pretended to pick up some kind of dust on the ground and kind of like blow it in his opponent's face. Some really weird stuff, bizarre stuff. You think, okay, that's something you do for fun, for laughs, but then you won't do it in the fight. No, Tony dropped down in the fight, grabbed a handful of dust and kind of blew it in his face. My man, I'm not answering questions on how to develop power. We are talking about Tony Ferguson versus Donald Cerrone, an epic fight. We had 2 rounds of an incredible fight. The fight ended because Cowboy had a welt over his eye. He had a busted up nose. When he blew his nose between rounds 2 and 3, his eye swelled up. So he had a welt already. He had probably very likely a broken nose. What happened when he blew his nose? His eye welted up completely shut. The doctors made a great call. It was a very intelligent call. I really agree with that call. He was completely blinded in one eye. It would have been just really difficult for him to see any strikes. He would have been in a lot of danger. Great call by the doctors, of course. But never blow your nose when you break. Never blow your nose when you've broken your nose or your nose is badly bleeding or injured. Thoughts on Tony's use of spinning elbow? It was brilliant. His spinning elbow attacks were brilliant, fantastic. Actually, I think he threw maybe 5 of them. It was really brilliant. A very gutsy move because you can actually get punched behind the head. Now that his future opponents are really aware that he spins like that a lot, you can punch a guy behind the head when he does that. If he turns his head to you and you throw a straight punch, it's perfectly legal. You're not allowed to turn your head. If you turn your head to your opponent and you get hit behind the head, that's your fault. Okay, so I can't go behind you and hit you behind the head, but as you're throwing a spin and elbow, your head is still a live target. So probably his future opponents would be more prepared for this. Tony will beat Khabib. That's from J Dog. Well, that's a tough question. That's a comment of yours, but I would say, look, I'm not really sure about that. Honestly, I think this is a very competitive fight. I would love to see Khabib versus Ferguson. Now, I've spoken to Khabib's dad once upon a time where I think they were matched up for the first time. I was in England and Khabib's dad was in the hotel lobby, and we were talking about, through his translator, we were talking about the Khabib Ferguson fight. He was doing an interview. I was doing an interview right before him with the same reporter, and we got talking about Ferguson versus Khabib. And Mr. Norma Nomedov, he had a lot of respect for Ferguson. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, but he was telling us that Ferguson is a very, very tough fight. And he was saying that he's very athletic, he's great counter wrestling, his spinning on the ground, all the stuff that he does is very hard for a wrestler to control. But of course, he was very confident that his son would win. Absolutely, he was very confident. But he was showing the respect to Tony. This is when the first time they were booked. At that time, Tony had not gone through this monstrous win streak. His name was not as big as it is now. So back then, I thought Tony was great. I thought he was amazing. But Khabib's dad, he was telling us, look, Ferguson is underrated. Ferguson's a lot better than people think. He actually saw that way back then, and I'm telling you, that was maybe at least 3.5 years ago. I would say maybe even more. It was quite a while ago, and I was just amazed how much respect he had for Ferguson. And don't forget, we knew Khabib was great back then. We knew Ferguson was great back then, but today these two names are probably the two biggest names in the lightweight division. So in the last 3 years, these two men, have had unbelievable wins, like really incredible wins, back to back, non-stop winning and dominant ones. And this is before Ferguson had beat Barboza. This is before Khabib obviously had beat McGregor. I mean, this is before they had become real, like, legends. Everybody knows their name in the lightweight division, and the casual fan knows their name. Obviously, now every single MMA fan knows their name, not just a hardcore regular fan. So I'm really impressed by how Khabib's dad picked up how far he thought Ferguson would go. Where are you right now, coach? Guys, I'm in New York City. I am in New York City. I normally don't video when I'm on the road, but I must keep the content going. I saw some comments. A lot of you guys are getting a bit upset that I'm not posting as regularly as I should. I have a lot of guys prepping for fights. I've been traveling a lot of guys competing. So I'm gonna have to do a few episodes like this if I'm gonna keep up the content. And sometimes I'm gonna have techniques. Sometimes I'm gonna do concept videos. Sometimes I'm gonna do post fight analysis, pre fight analysis. We're gonna keep the content rolling. So today's content is gonna be a video on Cowboy and Ferguson, one of the top fights. Look, it was pretty plain and simple. The fight was pretty plain and simple. Um, they have a similar fighting style. They're both scrappy. They both fight for the center. But Ferguson landed more and his pace was higher and he took the shots really well. He was throwing more. He was a lot more busy than Cowboy. I think Cowboy was and Cerrone were very competitive in round one. Very competitive. But Ferguson's defense was a little bit better and he was a little bit more busy. And even though round one was close, round two, his responsibility, his defensive responsibility, his caution in round one allowed him to jump forward in round two because now Cowboy started to wear. It was one too many elbows, one too many push kicks to the body. If you notice, uh, Ferguson landed at least four good push kicks to the body, and those accumulate and they accumulate. And you could see the reactions of Cowboy Cerrone's his reaction to the push kick in the second round. It wasn't good. You could tell that the breadbasket was starting to hurt. Ferguson's boxing improved a lot. I would agree with that. I'm sorry, I missed whose name that was. It passed by really fast. His boxing has improved, I have to say. Ferguson's boxing was very crisp. It was very quick. He was throwing little shots and big shots. He was mixing it beautifully together. He wasn't just winding up. He wasn't just telegraphing. He was really firing precise shots. And then once in a while, he would throw a very, very hard strike. He landed some very nice leg kicks. He landed some very nice teeps to the body, push kicks to the body, and a lot of beautiful right hands. And of course, the cherry on the top, the star of the show, the star attacks of the show, in my opinion, were those elbows. The right elbow and the spinning back elbow was really impressive. Tony's jab snapped Cowboy's head back a lot. That's from PR. Yes, I agree. There were a few key moments where Cowboy kind of rushed in, and even the commentators picked it up, and he was stopped right in his tracks by Ferguson. Like Ferguson threw a nice jab, he just intercepted him right away. That's old school Jeet Kune Do. When a guy steps in on you, jab, boom. But it has to be a particular jab that goes straight down the middle. It's almost like a stiff arm. Great defensive maneuver by Ferguson. I like the fact that Cowboy took this fight. Well, I shouldn't say I like the fact. I respect the fact. I respect the fact that Cowboy took this fight in about, I think it was 5 weeks notice. Really, like 5 weeks ago, when he fought Ferguson, 5 weeks earlier, 5 weeks earlier, he was just fought Iaquinta. He had to cut the weight. He For sure he got tons of bumps and bruises. For sure. I guarantee you, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure his hands maybe were injured or his foot or his knee. You don't get out of a fight like that without bumps and bruises, sprains. We all know this, okay? All of you who've trained, the guy has a lot of guts. 5 weeks later, he was back in it against Tony Ferguson, a vicious fighting machine. So my hat's off to Cowboy Cerrone. He didn't do a full training camp. He probably just, got home, took 12 days off. I'm assuming this, let his body heal a bit and then went right back to it. It's not a proper training camp. However, he had the guts to do it. Okay, guys, I got the super chat. It's working here. Shout out to New Zealand. You sent a super chat to that. Shout out, Mr. Whoever it was, to New Zealand. This one says, this is from that Indian dude. Hi, Frost. This is off topic, but you said strikers who had good takedown defense. You said Max Holloway. I would like to add Robert Whitaker to the list. Yes, I agree with you, my friend. I can't believe you spent $10 on that. But I agree with you. Robert Whitaker's takedown defense has improved dramatically over his career. He's always been a great athlete, and now he's become a phenomenal technician as well. But back to Ferguson, Cowboy Cerrone. We got to keep it up. Somebody asked me, Ferguson versus George St. Pierre. If we're talking pound for pound, look, I'm always going to go for George St. Pierre, that's for sure. But it would be an interesting fight. And for some reason, I would think it'll look a lot like the Nick Diaz fight, because Diaz had that pressure, that scrappiness, that forward pressure. And when you take him down, he's just so difficult to deal with. Diaz's ground is so good. He's so scrappy. He rolls, he inverts back to guard. I think Ferguson has a different style, yes, but they're similar in terms of they don't allow the top man to be stable. They're always making the top man work even when they're on the bottom, and that's just tough to deal with. That late punch I didn't. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Let me see that again. That late punch didn't make a difference as far as outcome. Tony was winning that fight. That's from MMA Slam Podcast. Shout out to MMA Slam Podcast. Listen, listen, it was super late, and I didn't like it. Let's just say I really didn't like it. But I did like what Tony said after the fight. The fact that he went and he raised Cowboy's hand and he showed Cowboy respect. I thought that was great. If that happened to a fighter I was coaching, I can promise you that I would have been really cool about it. I would have been really, really upset. Hitting somebody after the bell that late for me, it's really not good. But I did, when you look at Tony's history, his personality, is he just a little bit out of control? I don't know. I don't know. But again, that's not tolerable. It's not something we should tolerate. When the bell rings, you stop hitting the guy. And of course, protect yourself at all time. Fighters that get hit after the bell are also responsible. I always tell the fighters, protect yourself at all times. That's what they tell you. That's what you should do. Don't don't expect the horn or the referee to protect you. You have to protect yourself at all times, and hopefully the referee is in position to stop fighters from hitting you after the bell, and also hopefully fighters don't hit after the bell. But if somebody hit me after the bell, if Donald had hit him back, I wouldn't blame Donald in the least. Donald took it, didn't say anything, walked back to his corner. But what happens is that the fighter who gets hit after the bell, he wants to hit you right back, and if he does hit you right back, we can't really complain. I mean, he got hit. So what happens? They could be fighting after the bell. Now, obviously, I would recommend fighters not hit their opponents after the bell, even when they've first been hit. I get it. It's a sport. You don't want to make two wrongs, and you don't want the fight to be canceled. It's unfair to the fans. I get it. But what I'm saying is, it wouldn't be surprising if fighters lose their temper. They just got hit. They might be really angry. So, with that said, I really didn't like it. As a fan, I really didn't like that. But I do forgive the guy because I really like what he said after the fight. I love how Cowboy took the loss. He took it like a man. He took it like a champion, a heart of a lion, heart of a champion. And I also like what Ferguson said. Honestly, he showed a lot of class, and I'm really happy to see that from him. Very impressed with his post-fight speech. Yes, Mr. Winter Agent, I will be there. I will see you there, my friend. I hope to see you there as well. Coach, how realistic is Khabib versus GSP happening? EBS Rock. Listen, I don't know about that fight. It's so many rumors about that fight. That's a fight I would love to see. Excuse me. Honestly, if there was a retirement fight for George, I would probably say no to many of them, but that's one I would tell him, look, George, that one's it's too much. It's too good. It's just too good of a fight, in terms of just like, how historical it would be. So, listen, I don't know, but I would love to see that fight. Yes. I think GSP wins 50-45. That's from Prince Charles. Well, we'd have to see. It's a tough fight. But of course, I'm always going to pick the fighter that I'm training. And, I would have to say the same. Can you fix your Google podcast? It never works. I don't know what Google podcast is. GSP with the jab. How will GSP perform against Khabib? Cerrone, just like Pettis, wanted out of the fight. Donald knows better than blowing his nose. That's from Maria. I don't agree. Honestly, I don't agree. Sometimes you blow your nose. Listen, I've seen 1,000 fighters blow their nose in a fight. 1,000. Look at fighters. They're always blowing their nose. It's disgusting. They turn towards the fence, and sometimes they blow their nose, and there's people there. And I'm like, dude, the bucket is there for that. The towel is there for that. I have to say time and time again, when fighters are fighting, they're not thinking. The bucket's right between his legs and he's spitting on the floor. He's blowing his nose on the floor. It's like, what are you doing? But I get it. They're in the heat of the battle. They're not thinking. They're thinking about the foot. Maybe they kicked an elbow. Their foot is broken. Maybe they got punched in the ribs and they're like, holy moly, what do I do if he push kicks me? They're thinking about so many things that blowing their nose is the last thing on their mind. They're just blowing their nose like they do in practice, believe it or not. A lot of guys blow their nose in their shirt when they're trading. You'll see guys sparring between rounds. They take a drink of water. They have gloves on. They grab their shirt like this and they blow their nose in there. I've seen fighters blow their nose more than I need to. If I never see another fighter blow his nose, I wouldn't miss it. Did he blow his nose because he wanted his eye to pop out? No way, no way. Impossible. No way. Never gonna happen. That's not what he did. I could tell you what Cowboy was thinking. In my opinion, I'll tell you what I think he was thinking. I'm gonna win round three. I'm gonna knock him out in round three. I have to finish this guy. The fight is too close. Maybe I have round one. Maybe he has round one. Ferguson definitely has round two. He knew it. But that fight's still up for grabs. Maybe a few judges saw that it was Cowboy won the round one. I didn't think so personally, but it's arguable. And he was thinking, how do I win this fight? Cowboy's a killer. Listen, I used to train with Cowboy back in the day. He used to train at Tristar. We've trained together also at Jackson Winklejohn. The man is a warrior. Look at it. Look at his whole career. The man's never quit in a fight. Okay, so I don't question his heart or his intensity. Not for a second. Okay, he blew his nose because it's something he's done a million times in sparring between practices. I'm not saying this because I've seen Donald do it. I'm just saying this because it's very typical of fighters to blow their nose in practice in their shirt, or like GSP. You guys see GSP spar? He has all these paper towels and he's blowing his nose. Why? Because when you're sparring, like the nose leaks. You start dripping snot and things come out of your nose. It's just disgusting. Guys use their glove, guys use their sleeve, guys use their, like GSP has a stack of paper towels. He runs to the paper towels between rounds and he's wiping his nose, and it's gross. Yes, it's gross. What do boxers do? They have a spit bucket. They inhale it through the mouth and then they spit it out. It's totally disgusting. So yes, you got things coming out of your nose when you're getting punched and you're fighting hard and you're breathing hard. You're going, air is going in from the nose and from the mouth. Air is going out from the nose and from the mouth. You're trying to open every valve you've got. And if there's anything in your nose, you want it out. That's cutting me off from the air. I need more air coming in and I need more air going out. Fighters are going to unblock their nose the second they get. He was not looking for a way out. That's really just honestly untrue. I had another super chat. I took a quick read. It was asking me, how do you think Ferguson would fare against Conor McGregor? Incredible matchup. If that ever happened at 155, it would be epic. Listen, guys, that's a tough one to call. Why? Here's why. McGregor is a sniper and he's good at hitting people. We all know that, right? No doubt about it. Ferguson does get hit. He looked a lot better in the Cerrone fight, but he has a history of getting hit and taking it very well. McGregor is the best at hitting. He's just the best. Around 1 and 2, like, his hands have magnets on them, and your chin is just a big chunk of steel. Okay, so past rounds 1 and 2, I feel that Ferguson is just gonna take over because he's gonna bring this dog fight. He's gonna turn it into a dog fight, and nobody beats Ferguson in a dog fight. Nobody beats Ferguson standing up in a dog fight. Standing up in a dog fight, I don't think anybody beats Ferguson for quite a while. I think Ferguson is smart. He's shown some maturity that, he's smart, he's wise, and I think he could figure out a way not to get hits in rounds 1 and 2 and to take it to later rounds. We're learning a lot more about McGregor. The more he fights, the more we understand his style. So it's a tough fight to call. I like McGregor early. I like Ferguson after the third round. Gaethje beats Ferguson in a dogfight. That's from Ricky. I don't know. I don't think so. Honestly, I think that's a very close fight. Incredible matchup. Probably they're going to make it happen because I'm sure the fans are dying to see a fight between Gaethje and Ferguson. I saw a tweet from Gaethje saying that he loves that fight. I saw it on YouTube. Somebody was quoting his tweet. That's a tough fight to call, but I like the Ferguson in that one. In between rounds, Tony's corner said he was giving Cowboy too much respect. Explain this. How and if you saw Tony make the adjustment in round 2. That's from Chris Lambert. Chris, I heard the same thing. Part of my finger, guys. I was just trying to not lose that super chat. I did hear them saying that. Stop giving him respect. Stop giving him respect. I thought Tony measured round 1 beautifully. He was finding out how fast is Cowboy, how strong is Cowboy, what's Cowboy looking to do. He didn't go in there blindly. I found he was wiser than usual. That's what I really liked about. I found that he matured as a fighter. And this is not easy to do because when you're in there, your heart's beating, your nerves are on edge, and you just want to get in there and get it done. But I found that he showed a tremendous amount of maturity, and I think that he handled round 1 beautifully. I would have told him not to change anything because I felt like he was ramping up. I didn't feel like he was stalling. He was ramping up. I felt that the momentum was shifting his way, and he was on a great pace. GSP is a solid Henzo black belt. Yes, of course, GSP is a Henzo Gracie black belt. He was actually given his black belt by Bruno Fernandez. However, he majority of his training was taught to him by John Danaher. I'm a John Danaher black belt, so I consider George St. Pierre a John Danaher black belt. I do because nobody has trained me and George uh, jiu-jitsu more than John Danaher. We are John Danaher students. John Danaher is a Henzo Gracie black belt, so ipso facto, we are Henzo Gracie black belts. We are under the lineage. I just saw Henzo today. When I saw him, he's one of my favorite people in the world. I just gave him a big hug. Must have hugged each other like 10 times, I have so much respect for that man. So when people ask me, am I Henzo Gracie black belt, I always say yes. I always say yes, even though I was given my black belt from John Danaher. I find it an incredible privilege to have been given my black belt by John Danaher and Henzo Gracie. And nobody has schooled us more in jiu-jitsu, nobody, than Danaher and Henzo Gracie. So we're very grateful to the Gracie Academy in New York, and there's no place I'd rather train. Honestly, it's a phenomenal place. So make sure to check it out if you're ever in New York. Moses Gaines, thank you, my man. I've been trying to, keep it up. I have to do these podcasts. I'm really lazy between practices. I usually don't shave till Friday. Friday's the day I shave for the weekend. Make the wife happy, make the family happy. I get together with the family, but usually Monday to Friday, we're just working hard in the gym. So, it's just me and the guys. Why am I gonna put the makeup on? Why am I gonna pretty it up the face for the boys? Really. And I know it's nicer to keep it clean all the time, but I'm so busy. It's crazy busy, but I've been trying to take care of it. Shout out to my barber, VT Barber on in Laval. They trimmed me up really nice. Thank you very much to the boys at VT. Okay, Gordon Ryan versus John Jones. In a grappling match, listen, nobody beats Gordon Ryan in a grappling match. Ferguson has the best jab in the division. It may be the case. It may be the case, actually. It may now be the case. That is possible. Okay, what else we got here? Sandro, please behave, my friend. Please. These are bad words. You're saying them in French, and I understand. Please keep it clean. Hey, coach, thank you for doing this, sir. What are your thoughts on Kron Gracie, sir? I'm a huge fan of Kron Gracie. That's from Ramnik Layal. Ramnik, I'm a huge fan of all the Gracies, okay? I grew up with the Gracies. I grew up training and looking up to the Gracies, okay? And I've trained with many of the Gracies. I'm very privileged to have worked with such a phenomenal family. Honestly, I have the utmost respect for the Gracies. And every one of them I've worked with or trained under, I mean, they were just phenomenal people, like just a phenomenal family. So for me, I've never met Crone. I've never worked with Crone. That's part of the family I've never met. But his jiu-jitsu is, it's lived up to the family's expectation. He's an incredible example of what a Gracie is. At least what I think in my mind. Somebody who's dedicated to the art of jiu-jitsu, somebody who's perfecting the art of jiu-jitsu, and just a completely amazing grappler to watch. Like I've never seen a boring Kron Gracie match. Like I don't think I ever will. The guy's got a heart of a lion. He's made of steel. He's in incredible shape, and his grappling, of course, is just out of this world. For us, I always want to ask you, man, what do you think about rowing for cardio training? That's from Care. Bit off topic, but I like rowing. Yeah, rowing is good. Just don't get obsessed with it. It's one of many good ways to get in shape. I think it is good, but if you do it too excessively, it's bad for the stabilizers in your legs. Your knees, your adductors need to be challenged. Okay, so the downside with rowing is you're working your prime movers. You're working those muscles that do the brute action of your leg, extending your leg and retracting your leg. However, you're not really working the stabilizers because you're on a track. Okay, so be very careful with that. Don't overdo it on the rower. Who is the real goat, Cejudo or Mighty Mouse? That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. I think we have to give Cejudo more time to solidify himself. Right now, it's a toss-up, but if Cejudo keeps going the way he is, I think he'll be known as the greatest of all time, definitely in that division. Okay, we have a super chat, but no comment. What do you think? All right, the numbers are coming in fast here. Kevin Dayo, Professor, A member of mine. Thank you, Professor. How do you like Wonder Boy's YouTube channel? I haven't seen Wonder Boy's YouTube channel, but I'm sure I already like it, even though I haven't seen it yet. I look forward to looking it up and checking it out. Wonder Boy's the man. We go way back, and he's a great friend of the family. You know, our families are really good friends with one another. Does anyone ever replace GSP? That's from Eric Knowles. I don't know. I don't know. The new generation, they're so good. They're coming up so fast. You know, it's hard to say. How to manage training many arts. Well, that's a question for another day. We're talking about fights now. We're talking about mainly Ferguson versus Cerrone. And we're turning our attention to this fight, a phenomenal fight. We only got 2 rounds. We didn't get a third round, but just those 2 rounds already were incredible. Ferguson versus Diaz brothers, 5 rounds. Who wins? Right now, I pick Ferguson. I would have to pick Ferguson. He's just on fire right now. What would I recommend Cerrone do in a rematch? That's from SDGHV. That's a tough one. You know, I feel like he had to move Tony back, and that's a tall order. I have to sit down and think about how that is. And I would number one on the top of my list. He needs to counter those elbows. Those elbows were too much. You can't take that elbow too many times. Maybe one or two, but those elbows are just too much. And Ferguson was getting away with them too easily. Ferguson's pressure is legendary. That's from Yosef. I agree with you. Do you think Cerrone could have made a comeback and won? That's from Rich C. Rich, yes, it's always possible. We've seen bigger comebacks than this. You know, it's not. I'm not saying I think he would have, but it is possible. He maybe could have got it to the ground. He could have maybe landed a knockout punch. Who knows? Tony takes too much damage. That's from Andre Jimenez. You know, rewatch that fight. I watched it, I think, 3 times already. I don't feel like he took too much damage like he used to. I agree with you. He was a guy, I would say, look, he takes a lot of damage in his fights and he deals a lot of damage, and who knows what's going to happen when he's fighting. He ends up winning all the time so far, but maybe one day that damage is going to catch up to him. When he fought Cerrone, I felt like he was more defensively responsible. Hats off to him. I thought he looked really good. Why was Kevin Lee successful against Tony in the early rounds? That's from Blah. I, Tony's a different animal. You know, he's a different style. Excuse me. Kevin is a different style. Now, I'm going to be working with Kevin very shortly, so I don't want to talk too much about Kevin because, like I said, always I don't really talk about the fighters I work with. I just find it's unprofessional, so I'm going to keep it with on fighters I do not work with. And because I'm soon to work with him very shortly, I'm going to keep it my comments on the wraps for now. How much real success do you think Tony can have from his back against Khabib? That's from Chris Wilson. Now, that's a really good question. Typically, people get destroyed on the bottom with Khabib. If there's one guy who can make something happen or survive and get back up to his feet, it's Tony Ferguson. It remains to be seen. I would love to see this fight. I think this fight has been booked 4 times. 2 times Khabib couldn't make it, and two times Tony couldn't make it. I believe it was 4 times, not 5 times, right? Please correct me. I think they were booked 4 times, not 5 times. Is it 5 times? Or this would be the fifth time. If they do get booked again, it will be the fifth time. And if they get booked 5 times, it's got to happen. 4 times. Okay, thank you for that. Booked 4 times. So it would be the fifth time. And, are we going to book a fight for the fifth time? That's crazy, but it looks like we have to. We absolutely have to. I want to see Khabib beat Lesnar. That's from Scott Steiner. That would be amazing. All right, what else we got here? Do you think Kevin can become champ? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I think he will become champ. All right, what else we got here? Cejudo versus John Jones. Now, that would be something really epic. That's from Devin. Evan, you should become a matchmaker because if you can get that fight together, I think the entire world would watch this. I think all 8 billion people in the world would want to watch this fight. Did Tony Ferguson's pressure prevent Cowboy from throwing the head kick? That's from Caleb. Caleb, he landed the head kick. I don't know if you saw that, but I was watching it again today. He landed a head kick. And it was partial, but still, I mean, you're right. The pressure did smother Cerrone's head kicks and leg kicks. Because as you're trying to kick the leg, the guy's walking forward. It's really tough because he can kind of cut you off with his punches. And even more so, it's tougher to raise your leg because the head kick takes longer to get to its target. The guy's kind of mowing you down. You know, that forward pressure was I think deterring a lot of Cowboys kicks. Well, he did sneak one in, and I thought he would have more of an easy time getting those head kicks. You're right. I did notice that as well. A very nice observation. What else we got here? Do you think Dustin can Dustin beat Khabib? Great question. Of course he can beat Khabib. There's always a possibility he beats Khabib. Now I think Khabib is on fire. He's reached that level where he's got that legendary status. He's a very proven fighter. He's had a perfect career so far. Dustin has had his ups and downs, but he's a true warrior. He has a heart of a lion. He's got great punching. He's got great boxing. Can he keep off his back? If he can, he can win. If he can't, it's going to be a bad night. Coach, what do you think about Diaz versus Pettis? That's from Manash. Is that booked? I'm not sure if that's booked. Actually, you know what? Now to think of it, I think I did see that in the headlines. That would be an amazing fight. I'm definitely going to be watching that. That is a tough one to say. Because you know what? I don't know what Diaz has been doing all these years. You know, has he been staying in shape? You know, is his mind right? I don't know. These are tough questions to answer. And Pettis has been really busy. So I think if you look historically, Diaz has done really bad with kickers. Pettis is a phenomenal kicker. So for that reason, I don't really like his chances because he's always had trouble with guys who kick the leg. You know, does Khabib take down Dustin in round one? That's from Maddie. Tough to say, very tough to say. But according to Khabib's history, it seems likely. Were you surprised when Pettis killed Wonder Boy? That's from SDGHV. Dude, please get a simpler username just for me. Make an account just for me. Yes, I was very surprised. Congratulations to Pettis. Congratulations. He knocked out one of the best strikers in the game and in the history of kickboxing. Phenomenal performance. What a warrior. Heart of a lion. Epic performance. Epic highlight. Another highlight for Showtime. Another epic highlight. I will never doubt this man's ability to win ever again. He's a truly phenomenal martial artist. I love the guy. I think he's a phenomenal guy. He's like I said before, once upon a time he gave a seminar at TriStar. What a great human being. What a great person and incredible instructor. Incredible enthusiasm for his striking. You know when he's teaching striking, amazing striking system. And you know what? He put it up against the best, and he did it, and he pulled it off. So never doubt Pettis' striking. I learned that lesson. And you know what's tough to say because I'm always gonna pick the guys I know best, and I know Wonderboy for a long time. If they fought again, I'll pick Steven again. I have to, and you know what? I'm ultimately confident in Steven's ability. You know, if you look at that fight, Steven was winning round one, and round two was going really well for Steven, extremely well for Steven. And I thought it was just Wonderboy ramping up, and he got caught. Look, he got caught. Anything can happen in a fight, absolutely anything. So, hats off to both those men. Much respect for their striking style. I really enjoyed that fight. Amazing work by both of them. Hey, coach, tell us, what do you whisper in George's ear at UFC 167 post interview? Is it too personal? Yes, sir, it is too personal. Maybe one day I will reveal it to you all, but it was something very personal. What else we got here? We're discussing Cowboy versus Cerrone. How do you train reaction speed? Will GSP consider fighting Khabib? Justin Bieber versus Tom Cruise. That's from Justin D'Agostino. Interesting. You know what? I heard about this fight. Somebody who was saying that. Was it on YouTube? I think I saw it on YouTube. Guys, I'm only ever on YouTube. You know, I get my news from YouTube. So I know I have to start going back on Twitter again. I have to start my Instagram again. And I need some help with that. I need somebody out there. I'm going to get one of my students to help me with the content. But why would Justin Bieber want to fight Tom Cruise? I have no idea what the backstory is. But from what I understand, Justin Bieber does box. I don't know if Tom Cruise has any fight training at all. So I have really no idea. Really no idea. But that would be interesting. I'd love to see two actors, you know, maybe do boxing with big gloves. You know, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But it would be interesting to see them, you know, what they're made of. I would love to see what they're made of, actually. That would be kind of interesting. Haha, did you watch Justin Bieber sparring? That's from Joseph Jed. No, I haven't, but you know what? I got my computer right here. Let me pull that up. Let me pull that up. Again, guys, I'm in my hotel room in New York. I usually don't post on the road, but I still have to start posting on the road because I am really behind on content. that I am promising my sponsors. Justin Bieber sparring. Let me look at this, and I will give you guys my comment on what I think about Justin Bieber sparring. This one is from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. All right, let's see this one. I'm gonna put the volume up here. What I'm watching here, I'm watching somebody. One of you asked me about Justin Bieber sparring. Let me see here. Okay, the footage is edited. They look like two, very green boxers. The guy he's sparring with is like 50 pounds heavier and is a complete beginner, a total beginner. And Bieber's fighting in that Philly shell. He's got one arm down. His jab is down by his waist. He seems to be moving kind of stiff here. His chin is up. He's a novice. I'm sure he's learning boxing. It's gonna take him a long time to get really good at boxing. He's doing it at a novice level. But look, at least he's sparring. At least he's training. And look, he's not scared to glove up with a bigger, stronger guy. So even though he's a novice, we all started at this level. And again, this was 3 years ago. I'm sure he's improved a lot since then. But he's definitely in this video that I'm watching, published by Discover the Fights 3 years ago. He's still at that novice level. Tom Cruise wrestled in high school. That's from Michael M. Really? That's interesting. That's interesting. So maybe they do MMA then. Maybe these two get in the cage. Who knows? I heard that. Yeah, I heard that somebody might want to promote that instead. I heard McGregor might want to promote that fight. I saw a headline. I think that would be brilliant. That would be fantastic. I'm buying that fight for sure. Coach, what did RDA do well versus Kevin Lee compared to his losses versus Usman, Kobe, etc.? Guys, because I'm working with Kevin Lee, hopefully very shortly, I can't talk about Kevin Lee, so I find it unprofessional, so I'm going to leave it at that. What weight would you like GSP and Khabib to fight at? Personally, I like 165. A 165 title match. Make it happen. Start a new division. There's a lot of guys who can fight in that division. It's a phenomenal idea. I'm all for it. Shout out from Oakland. Love your mind and content. That's from Gus. Gus, thank you very much, my man. Shout out to you from New York City. What else we got here? Hong Rio. Why doesn't John Danaher start his own gym academy? I think everybody's very happy at the Henzo Gracie Academy. Okay, owning your own academy is not all bells and whistles. Okay, sometimes it's just better to give lessons, get paid, and walk out the door, not worry about rent. Trust me, I'm a gym owner, and it's not all sunshines and rainbows. Okay, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. I gotta deal with crazy amount of stuff. I got two managers, and I gotta make sure that the gym is always taken care of. Of course, I got to find staff. I don't want to complain about my staff, but sometimes there's decisions they just can't make, and I got to do it. So it's not always great. Sometimes it's great to have just the income coming in, going into the gym, and you don't have to run a business. Running a business it's demanding. Let's just call it that. Patty Bratty, too much Rocky movies you're watching. Yes, that's true. I did. You know what? I never watched. What is it? Rocky 6. I just saw the highlights. I just saw a few scenes. I never actually watched it. But I love that line. Life ain't all sunshine and rainbows. I absolutely love that line. It cracked me up. And I've never watched Creed. So I think there's Rocky 6. I've watched 1, 2 through 5. Absolutely love 4. Absolutely love 5. People didn't like Rocky 5. I don't know what you're talking about. I thought Rocky 5 was brilliant. It was genius. The man finishes in the street like he started. At the end, he ends up knocking out that promoter, that Don King-like promoter. And the guy says, he's giving that famous line, touch me and I'll sue, touch me and I'll sue. Rocky knocks him out and says famously, beautifully, he says, sue me for what? I thought it was brilliant. I was really young when that movie came out. I was like, wow, man, he's a badass. He just knocked out this weasel, this no good punk, and he knocks him out, and he doesn't care he's gonna get sued. I thought it was brilliant, guys. I was all over that movie. I thought it was amazing. Then all my friends were telling me it sucked, and everybody around me saying it was no good, it was boring. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I thought it was an epic movie. Ferguson versus Cerrone on the ground. Lorenzo. Remains to be seen. I really wanted to see that actually. We didn't get a chance to see it because Ferguson did a really good job defending, getting back to his feet. Hard to say, those two guys are both black belts and they're both brilliant black belts. So hopefully, who knows? Maybe they fight again. Very possible that they fight again. Artem Lobov versus Paulie. Guys, I did a full video. That's from Rio. Check out my latest video. But I did just watch their countdown. The countdown just came out today on YouTube. I watched it. I thought it was great. And I'm really looking forward to that fight. I think it's June 22nd or June 20th. I think, what is that? That's in 2 weeks. No, 1 week. That's in 1 week. So maybe I think it's next week or something like that. A must-watch fight. Paulie Malignaggi versus Artem Lobov. Check out my breakdown. I did a whole video on them. I'm really looking forward to that fight. Did you bought John Danaher DVDs? Of course, I have the collection of John Danaher DVDs. A phenomenal collection, guys. Check it out. It's phenomenal. Unbelievable content. After the bell doesn't mean anything. If the ref instructs the fight until I step in. I heard a few fighters say that. No, Robert, you're totally wrong. Robert, you didn't write it well, but what I understand you're saying you can hit the guy after the bell. Is that what you're trying to tell me, that the referee didn't break it up? No, that's untrue. When the horn sounds, you're supposed to stop fighting. The referee's at a safe distance. It does happen. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but sometimes in boxing fights or even MMA fights, not in UFC, but in MMA, it does happen that the referee gets too close to the action and he gets hit. It does happen, especially in boxing, because maybe the referee's trying to break up a clinch. When he goes to break up a clinch, he gets hit. It's happened. I've seen referees get knocked out. It does happen. That's why the referee's supposed to verbally tell them to stop, then step in. But sometimes you do the two so fast. One of the fighters is throwing a punch and he just clips the referee on the chin. Unwantingly, of course, unwittingly, unknowingly hitting the referee on the chin. It does happen. So it's not true that you have to wait for the referee to break it up. That's for submissions. Okay, that is for submissions. When the horn sounds off, you're supposed to stop fighting. That's the name of the game. Okay, what else we got here? Rocky 5 is the best one. That's from Caveman Dan. Caveman Dan, you are a very wise individual. Hey coach, can you talk about some BJJ instructionals that you found very helpful and advanced your jiu-jitsu? Thank you. That's from Jackson. Look, I recommend you my DVDs. Check them out, jujiclub.com. Check it out. I have 2 DVDs out. I'm going to make a third one. I'm not going to give a date because I always end up having to push it back. But a third one is coming out. I've decided to do Butterfly Guard. Check out my DVDs. I'm telling you, they got great reviews. I get messages all the time. People tell me they love it. But outside those, what DVDs? I don't really know, honestly. There's so many good ones. Check out John Danaher's DVD series. I think he's come out with like 7 of them. They're all pure gold. Check out John Danaher, #1 DVD instructional in the game. Coach for us for Abu Dhabi 2020 as Death Squad captain. That would be great, but I'm not fit for the job. It's definitely a John Danaher job. Justin Gaethje is a dark horse in the 155 division. Very wise comment. I agree. That man can go all the way. That man can go all the way. I'm very confident that Justin Gaethje is going to shock the world over and over again. He's done it in the past. He's going to keep doing it. He's definitely a dark horse. Be very careful when it comes to Justin Gaethje. He can spoil anybody's night. Gaethje will be champ at 155. That's from Ricky. Listen, that is a strong possibility. For us, you're my idol, #1 trainer. No, okay, thank you. I appreciate that, but there are many great trainers in this world. Ferguson versus Holloway. How does their stand-up game compare? That's from Dars. Dars. I have to go with Tony. He's too precise, too much volume, too tough, he's bigger. After what he did, against Cerrone, I just don't think, I don't think there's a way to beat him right now standing up outside of McGregor. I think everybody else has to take him down. At this point, maybe later in his career, he's not as, other guys catch up to him or he's not as precise. But right now, I saw what I saw against Donald. His reflexes seem very, very sharp. His volume was impeccable. His power was great. His explosiveness, everything was there. It was really, and that kind of blend of excellence doesn't always last very long. Sometimes it lasts for 4 or 5 fights. Sometimes it can last for one fight. Sometimes it can last for 10 fights in a row. But I truly felt that he was at his best. That was the best Tony Ferguson we've ever seen. I truly felt that we were watching Tony Ferguson at his peak. Ferguson might still be improving. That's from Ralph. I would say he is. He's definitely improving. Just definitely. I found that he was better defensively. He was more precise offensively. He was more surprising. I mean, the guy was just incredible. Do you think Tony is the best lightweight ever? No, I couldn't say that. Not yet. No. I think right now the best lightweight ever has to be Khabib. There's just no doubt about it. The man's undefeated and he beat Conor McGregor. So, he has to be considered the best. What do you think about Adesanya's style? That's from Jamie East. I love his style. I love this kind of style. Switching stances, throwing a variety of strikes. Reminds me a lot of Anderson Silva. I'm a big fan of the style. I try to implement it. Obviously, when I spar, like that's the kind of style I like. But I'm far more orthodox. But it's a style I admire. I aspire to do because it's a lot of fun. I just find it really cool. Lots of fun. It's never boring. You're not doing the same routine over and over again. So for me, I'm all about the motivation. When I'm motivated to try a new guard or a new sub or a new strike, it gets me in the gym. That's why I love to, when I see something really cool, I like to go in the gym and try it. Maybe I don't do it well, but it's fun, and training is all about motivation. If you're motivated to do something, that's the right exercise for you. That's the right path for you. Because without motivation, nothing happens. Nothing occurs. Thoughts on Andy Ruiz? Really incredible, man. Really incredible. I gotta watch that again. I just saw the highlights and the ending, but it seemed like a seesaw battle. And it was a real life Rocky. I think they call him the Mexican Rocky, if I'm not mistaken. Please, somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong. But I believe he's the Mexican Rocky, and man, that's just so impressive when you see the real. You guys, I just told you in this podcast that I'm a big Rocky fan. I'm a big Rocky 4, Rocky 5 fan, and even I love Rocky 3. Guys, don't hate on Rocky 3. Rocky 3, maybe when we're watching it now, it's not as cool, but when we were kids and we're watching Rocky 3 with Clubber Lang, Hulk Hogan, who went by the alias Thunderlips, it was just epic for us. It was just so epic. Maybe you guys' generation don't get it now, but it was so epic for us. And to see the real life Rocky in the ring, beat a guy who's an unbeatable machine, undefeated. Ruiz was supposed to be a guy, just a stepping stone, a guy who's just gonna get crushed, a guy who nobody's ever gonna hear of again. And to see him win and then tell his mom on the air, we don't have to suffer no more, and he's made it, like he's made it big, and then to see him on the talk shows and to see him become mainstream overnight, wow, it's just epic, just really unbelievable, amazing. And of course, we've seen it in the sport before, but it's a Cinderella story, it's a true life Cinderella story. Y a-t-il des forfaits au Tristar pour les étudiants universitaires? That's from Hot Chicken 88. Are there university rebates or specials for students, people who are going to university, they want to train at Tristar Gym? Can they get a discount? That's the word I was looking for. No, there isn't, but as of now, yes, there is. So after this, I'm going to text my management, tell them give those university students a discount if they come in with their university pass. I will give you all a discount. I'm a university student, and just because of your text, I will make it happen. I'm going to give you guys 15% off. 15% off for all university students. Okay, guys, what else we got here? Conor McGregor. Uh, you guys are asking me how would he do against Ferguson. I answered that already. Ferguson versus Khabib. We talked about that already. What else we got here? Are we going to war with Iran? We didn't talk about that, but we're not going to talk about it. Can Conor beat Khabib in a rematch or not likely? That's from Maddie. Look, anything can happen, but if the fight happened again, I would have to pick Khabib. I just feel like there's too much of a gap. He's gonna get the fight down to the ground again. But McGregor's a very smart guy. It wouldn't surprise me though he goes back to the drawing board, but it just obviously he's gonna go back to the drawing board. I wouldn't put anything past him. You know, the guy's a great athlete. He's a smart guy. He's got incredible skills. He's so dangerous, and especially he's dangerous in round one. Especially in round one, uh, the first shot Khabib took, McGregor threw a knee. And if that knee had connected just maybe an inch more, an inch in a different angle, maybe he knocks out Khabib in round one. You know, it can happen. But statistically, that's going to be more difficult because everybody's looking out when they fight McGregor from now on. They're all looking out. They're all like, hey, this guy in round one, man, he throws the most brilliant strikes. Get past that wave. And they have like this hope. They have this hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. If you get past this wave, there's this light, you know. And once you've seen that light, you start believing it more. So I think Khabib will do maybe even better in the rematch because he knows now. He's felt McGregor's strength. He's felt McGregor's punches, what they're like in the later rounds. He's going there now. It's not the unknown. He knows that, look, he's been taking guys down, more seasoned wrestlers than McGregor for his entire life. So it's just a tough thing to catch up to. Is it impossible? No, it's not impossible, but very difficult. Can I enter Tristar Gym and ask JSP to spar? That's from Falk Creeth Guard. No, sir, you may not. You may not do that. Yo, give a shout out. That's from Donald Adams. Donald Adams, there's your shout out, but yo, is that what you wanted? What do you consider bread and butter and what do you consider bread and butter in jiu-jitsu? That's from Georgia Gia. Sorry, Gia. George Gia. I'm sorry. Writing is very small. Okay, so what do I consider bread and butter? Look, you have to have a phenomenal elbow escape. Like you have to be able to escape your knees in all situations. John Denahar actually just came out with a DVD all about how to escape your knee in various positions. It's not super exciting, but it's the root base of jiu-jitsu in my opinion. That's why he made that DVD. And the DVD is named something like How to Get Better Faster or Improve Faster. I thought it was a brilliant DVD. The only thing is, it's not really flashy or exciting. But man, do these moves get you out of trouble? When you have a stronger, trained opponent on top of you, if you can't escape your knee, you're gonna get crushed, you're gonna get fatigued, and you're gonna get hurt. Jiu-jitsu is all about how to use your legs. When your legs become more like arms, when you have the dexterity and coordination in your legs, that you're using your legs more like arms, you're that detailed in your movement, you're that agile with your legs, you're that coordinated, then your jiu-jitsu becomes really, really good. If you immobilize my legs, you know, that's why mount is so dangerous. You've immobilized my legs. That's why back taking is so dangerous. My legs are not in the game no more. It's your whole body versus my upper body. Whenever you take my legs out of the equation, I'm really a sitting duck. So this whole video he made is all about how to keep your legs in the game. Never let your opponent take away your guard, you know, take away your legs. So excuse me about that. That's why I thought it was really brilliant. What else we got here? Hey coach, what do you think of Dylan Dennis? Can you make it in the world? Can he make it as a world champion in the future? Uh, in your opinion, that's from LPF. LPF actually just met him today for the first time. I met him today for the first time. He seems super nice. I thought you know he was getting ready for his fight. He was walking off for a weigh-in. I think he's a very talented guy. Look, all propaganda aside, all marketing aside, the guy's a phenomenal grappler. He's a phenomenal athlete. I think tomorrow, you know, this is a fight. He's just gonna crush the guy. I looked at the guy he's fighting. You know, I looked at the card, and look, Dylan is light years ahead of this guy. You know, if something goes wrong, it's just the nature of fighting. But 99 times out of 100, Dylan crushes this guy. He doesn't beat this guy. He crushes this guy. So can he become world champion? Well, if Bellator keeps taking him up step by step, gradually, if they don't give him a fight too hard, too soon, too early, absolutely he can become world champion. Almost anybody who works that hard and is that dedicated and has trained his whole life to become an expert, you know, at fighting. Of course they can, you know, but it's all about, I think, how his career develops because you can hurt a guy early and take away that confidence. You can give a guy a severe injury earlier on in his career and really sidetrack him. So barring any of that, he's gonna go really far. He's a very talented guy. Can GSP be an official head coach? Serious. That's from Marco St. Kulev. Listen, being a head coach is tough. It's tough business. I don't know if George will want to do it full time. Maybe he's gonna, he helps me coach in the gym. He does it, but then he goes to his routine. He does his things. I think George, maybe in his older age, might start coaching, but as of now, I don't think he's in his coaching mindset yet. He does teach at TriStar at least once a week, at least like an official class. However, as a full-time coach, it will be a lot of time and energy, and I don't think he wants to do that. I think he's still focused on his own development and his own fitness and his own, he's still trying to get better. So to get better while you're training a bunch of guys is a bit tough. Like look at me, I'm on the road. I have to take care of the fighters. I'm always networking, thinking about their fights, thinking about how to improve them. I don't think George is ready to um, take his time and energy that he's working on himself and improving himself, because you never know when there might be another fight around the corner. That's the honest truth. I think inside George's mind, the way it works deep down in his head, I think inside of his mind, in a dark place inside of his mind, he thinks there could be another fight around the corner or something. He has to jump back in from the sidelines. Like I think he's always ready. He's the type of guy. He's a true samurai in his mind, in his crazy mind. Even if he was like, I don't know, like I don't know how to say. Let's say the doctor said, "Look, you can never fight again. You have your hand injury is so bad, you'll never fight again. Your hand is broken so horribly, you'll never even hold a pencil again." Let's say they gave him a diagnosis like that. I still don't think he would believe it. I think in his mind, he would be like, "Look, my other hand's gonna be so strong. I'm gonna be able to, just win in a different way." That's just how he thinks. He's a very obsessed human being with his goals. He's very obsessed. So for me, I still think he sees himself as champion, as the best martial artist, and he wants to maintain his excellence. So I just don't believe him when he says, like, I mean, I do believe him when he tells me he's retired. I'm happy for him, but I know that deep inside his mind, because I see him train and I see him work out, and yes, he doesn't work out like he's getting ready for a fight, but he's still working hard. So that's just a feeling I get. NBA Finals, who you got? That's from Donald Adams. Donald, I wish I could check out the games, but I don't really watch much else than MMA. I'm so involved in MMA, so it's very hard for me to watch any other sport. I don't even know who's in the NBA Finals. As a matter of fact, I've never been to a professional basketball game. I've been to a professional practice, a basketball practice. One time I was invited to come watch a practice, and I got to do that, but I've never actually seen an actual professional basketball game. Coach, do you meditate? That's from Ulysses. Yes, I do, sir. I do definitely. Toronto's in the finals. Well, that's awesome. Hey, for us, how do you see Khabib's wrestling and pressure working against Dustin Poirier? Dustin's boxing and footwork is looking good of late. That's from Jeff Hart. That's the interesting. I think you broke that fight down perfectly. Justin's boxing, his footwork. Excuse me, not Justin. Dustin. Excuse me. Pardon me. I was thinking Gaethje. Dustin's footwork and precision in his boxing has really improved, and that's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. Absolutely. I think you break it down beautifully. What else we got here? Assalamu alaikum, Ren Plus. Despite the appreciation for your MMA content, it would be a privilege to hear your elaborate and more of your philosophical and worldly views. Assalamu alaikum. Listen, ask me a question in the later episodes on anything you want, and that's why it's an Ask Me Anything, and I will answer it. However, it's an MMA channel, it's a fitness channel, it's a training channel, so I have to keep those questions kind of brief. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a philosophy major, so that's why a lot of people ask me philosophy questions. I do have another life outside of MMA, and I've been studying philosophy for 30 years, over 30 years, and in depth. So I can answer your questions. Absolutely. I'm very familiar with all the topics, almost all the topics in philosophy. Of course, philosophy is a never-ending ocean, but I'm very familiar with the classic, the great thinkers of the past. Praze, I already answered that. Please rewind this podcast. I've done that already. Dustin Poirier will shock the world. That's from Zozila. Listen, that is very possible. It is a definite possibility. What else we got here? Tristar Gym, when will you get the philosophy podcast with John Denahar? That's from Quinn. Quinn, if me and John Denahar did a philosophy podcast, the whole philosophy world, the whole philosophy world would shake. It would shake like this. And the whole MMA world and philosophy world would clash together, and it would be massive destruction, maybe floods and plagues and all sorts of other bad things. I don't know if it's a great idea, because we'll have a bunch of MMA dudes mixing with a bunch of philosophy dudes, and we'd kind of be in the middle trying to referee both worlds, because we live in kind of both worlds, and these two worlds have never clashed. These are like the Europeans discovering America again. Like this, these are two, and I'm saying this because I'm deep in the philosophy world and I'm deep in the MMA world. And I'll tell you something, these two bodies of water have never mixed in the past. You know, there are some great warriors in the past. There were philosophers and warriors. Yes, absolutely. There are great, you know, there are very sophisticated, intelligent MMA fighters today. Yes, absolutely. However, martial arts and philosophy were married once upon a time. Absolutely, they were. But it's been a long time since they've been mingled together. And who knows? Maybe it's time to bring them back. But and maybe John, maybe John or me would be good to do that. But this would be, let's just say, I think it would be a rough start. It would be a rough start, because you know, it would just be far from. They're just starting from such far points. But I'm optimistic. It can be done. ONE FC versus UFC. Look, I'm much more familiar with UFC. I go way back with UFC, so I have to put UFC as number one, of course. But I'm glad to see a lot of great shows are coming out of ONE FC. A lot of exciting matches as well. Um, what else we got here? Okay, guys, we are up over an hour, and I'm using my data. I don't know if I'm using Wi-Fi or data. I think I'm on data. I'm not even sure. So um, I don't even know what this is costing me. But listen, I'm going to wrap it up shortly. Let's pop off a few nice questions here. Let's finish with some really nice questions, and then we'll wrap it up. The drum-like nature. I don't know what you're writing there. Can I start MMA at 18? Philip Brown, you're too old, man. You should retire. You like stoicism. That's from Kuro. Yes, I'm very familiar with stoicism, and I find it very admirable. Yes, absolutely. What do you think about Alexander Rakic? That's from Miko. Listen, Alexander is one of the future greats. He's gonna do really well, and I really expect big things from him. He's a phenomenal up and comer. He's gonna do great things. What kind of kung fu is Sujuro Sehuro using? Coach, do you think Henry is combat goat? I already answered that praise. Go check it out. Rewind this thing. What's your biggest fear? I was suffered from fear of flying. For those of you who don't know, I've talked about it in the past. I did a couple of videos on how to overcome your fear of flying. Lots of positive feedback from that, from people who have the same fear as me, the fear of flying. Listen, guys, I've flown in an airplane more than 100 times. I still worry about airplanes, but at least I face my fears and I do it all the time. We got a super chat here. Are there any other fighters in other organizations you would like to see in the UFC? Absolutely. Many, 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 many. Gary Tonen's one that comes to mind, just like that. I don't think 18 is too late. Kevin starts wrestling at 16. Listen, Michael M., I was joking. Of course, it's not too late. Not too late at all. You can do anything. Ice Cold, Ice Gods. Do you believe in God? Yes, I do. Zabit potential in UFC. He's a potential UFC champion. Catch wrestling versus BJJ. I find that question a little bit irrelevant. I don't really even know the difference. I think it's all grappling. You know, I don't really see this. I don't really see the difference. Discussion about Henry being the combat goat. Yes, praise. I have to borrow you very shortly. I did talk about that already. Can you compare Khabib to GEP? I think you mean GSP. Khabib and GSP are very similar, except GSP excelled far more in kicks, and they have a different punching style. However, his kicking ability, I think, gave him an edge. George St. Pierre's kicking ability gave him an edge. Let me see here. There's always a dummy in there. Chat room. Okay, what else we got here? All right. All right, guys. I'm going to take one last one. How about one last question? Let's make it a good one. I want to end on a good note, and we'll wrap this one up. What else we got here? Somebody end this one. Somebody take this to the last quarter, put the ball in the end zone, and let's kick the field goal, that extra point. So Khabib is wrestling level, Olympic level? Question mark. That's from Michael M. Okay, great question. Is he an Olympic level? Listen, guys, if you want to really impress me, go win a gold medal in the Olympics in wrestling. It is a tough thing to do. Okay, I've wrestled with guys who are Olympic champions. We've had Olympic champions come to TriStar and wrestle. And there are, man, they've all dedicated to get to the podium. You have to dedicate your entire life. You have to be a technician. You have to be a freak athlete. You have to be hardworking. Like these people are very dedicated human beings, and they've been doing this from a very, very young age. I'm supremely impressed with the pedigree of wrestling. It's a phenomenal sport, not an easy thing to do. Is Khabib world champion material? If he went to wrestle today in the Olympics, he wouldn't get to the podium. No. However, he would wrestle well. He would do well, in my opinion. He can go in Olympic level practice. He can go with wrestle with the Olympic team. He'll give them a great fight. They'll like training with him because he knows what he's doing. He's a brilliant wrestler, phenomenal wrestler. However, would he get on the podium? No. No, he wouldn't. Why? When he's practicing boxing, when he's practicing grappling, when he's doing conditioning that's specific to his sport, they're doing wrestling techniques. They're getting a small edge on him. They're always getting that small edge on him. So could he have been an Olympic wrestling champion if he had dedicated his life just to wrestling? I think yes. I think yes. However, because he diverted his training into submission holds and kickboxing and boxing and Muay Thai clinching and conditioning that's relevant to his sport, he gave up that pursuit, obviously. All right, guys. So that's my answer to you. Yes, he's got that caliber in him, but he didn't exploit that potential. And with that said, guys, I want to thank my sponsors, Gym Kings. Guys, check out Gym Kings. They have unbelievable fitness wear. Timtam.tech. They make the world's best deep tissue therapy device. Monster Energy drink. And who else am I forgetting? TriStar Dorms. Check him out. Guys, please like, share, comment as usual, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.